What's good, guys? This is Vahography. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. And today we're going to be reviewing the Nikon 58mm 1.4G Nikkor lens. You guys ready? Let's go. The 58mm was introduced October of 2013. This lens currently in 2020 sells for about $1,400 to $1,500, brand new. Used, you can probably pick it up for about $1,000. This AFS lens is primarily used for portraiture, wedding photography, street photography, and astrophotography. Many Nikon lenses are optimized for sharpness. Not this lens. This lens has a unique characteristic to it. The images produced with the 58mm are pleasing to the eye. They're very unique looking. And in this review, I'm going to take some shots with this lens. And what I'm also going to do is compare it with I have a 50mm 1.4D lens here. And we're going to compare them. I mean, this is a 58mm 1.4G lens, $1,500 lens. And in this review, we're going to put it against the 50mm 1.4D lens. I picked this guy up for a couple of $100. I remember at a used lens shop. To be honest with you guys, I use this lens a lot for video work. It's a perfect focal length, 58mm, not too wide, not too long. It's just right down the middle. And what's good about this lens, guys, it's a 1.4 lens. Silent wave motor, guys, it focuses very silently. 72mm filter thread. It's not a heavy lens at all, but it's built very, very well. One thing I don't really like about this lens is the focus speed. It's not too quick. It's not a fast performer. I'm happy with this lens. Like I said, I use it all the time for video work and wedding photography. It's a good all-around lens if you're doing natural light photography and you're just roaming around the wedding. So without further ado, here's some detailed specs of the 58mm 1.4G Nikon lens. Check it out. As I run through the specs on the screen, I want to tell you a little story. When I was shooting a wedding not too long ago, I was doing some natural light ceremonial shots at a low light church. And I needed a wide shot, so I quickly changed lenses. I put on the 14-24. I left this lens on the front pews of the church. I never do that. I'm always more careful and cautious, but the shot, I just needed that wide shot split second. I left this lens on the pew. Turns out I forgot it at the reception. One of the guests at the ceremony brought it to me and said, "Hey, are you missing something?" Moral of the story, guys, be careful, don't forget your lenses at church. But this is one heck of a lens at church. Low light ceremony, low light receptions, first dance. Very happy with the bokeh, shooting it wide open. Honestly, guys, if I was a second shooter at a wedding, I'd love to mount this lens and just shoot with it from beginning to end. Second shooting, candid shots, you name it. If I'm looking for a focal length, not too long or not too wide, this lens is ideal. Sometimes we use the nifty 50, and for portraits, it's a little too wide. Sometimes I wish I was a little tighter on the shot. The 58 gives you that and more. So the 58mm looks pleasing to the eye cosmetically. It's a very simple design. It's got the auto and manual switch on the side for focusing. The badge is in the front. Who remembers the legendary 58mm 1.2 knocked lens from Nikon from yesteryear? So it's supposed to be the modern version of the knocked 58mm 1.2 lens. The lens that I'm talking about, that's very hard to get. It's a very rare lens. There was a limited production on that lens. So I think currently it sells for about $3,000 if you can get your hands on one. We're going to take some sample images of this lens and we're going to do some video clips of this lens. We're going to let you guys be the judge. Is it worth $1,500? Is it worth $1,000 for a used one? We're going to do some test shots here with the Nikon Z6 and the 58 1.4G and the 50 1.4D. So first up, shooting it wide open here. I zoomed in a little bit so you could see the sharpness and the bokeh at 1.4 on each lens. Again, both shot wide open. Here's an example of the bokeh each lens produces at 1.4. Next examples are shot at f4. The 50mm is a D lens, and remember on the Z6 it doesn't autofocus. So So I had peaking on and I was focusing using peaking on the camera. Wow, look at the 50mm at f4. Not bad at all, huh? For an inexpensive lens. These next series of shots, I just started taking some random shots wide open with both lenses. Went around the yard taking just random pictures so you guys could see the difference on both lenses. Camera settings are left identical between both lenses. If you guys are in the yard doing yard work, mowing the lawn, actually even photographing, get this hat, it keeps you cool. I had the 50mm on. I decided to take some shots of the lens, the 58mm lens, holding it up. So right here, I want you guys to see the quality of the bokeh. Just look how out of focus the background is, and the distance between the microphone and the desk is virtually maybe a foot. And not even that. And look at the quality of that. Shooting this at the closest distance possible for this lens. I just mounted the 58mm 1.4G lens to my camera. I'm recording this video clip at 1.4 wide open. The lens we're reviewing today. 1.4 wide open. How does it look, guys? Now I stopped it down at f2. F2. The 58mm 1.4G lens, f2.8, 2.8. I'm also increasing the ISO as we go, just so the light levels match. So f4, 5.6, f5.6. See the aperture getting smaller and smaller in the camera. 5.6, f8, ISO 1600. I think we started 1.4 was ISO 100. ISO 3200, f11. F11. F16, isn't that like a fighter jet? The F16s were nice, huh? So I just mounted the 50mm 1.4D lens onto my camera. This is a $200 lens, $1,500, $200. I picked that up used, $200. And it's at 1.4. It's a manual focus lens on a Z6, guys. The Z6 will not autofocus a D lens, so if the focus is a little off, I apologize. I've seen this lens go for about $150 sometimes, but $250, something like that, used. F4, 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 guys, F4. F8, F8, guys, F8. Better than this one? And f16. Stopped all the way down. You know, I like to compare lenses like this. The lens that I'm reviewing, the 58mm 1.4G lens, to a common nifty 50 like this one. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoy these comparisons and if you want to see more. So it's time for my conclusion of this review. And by the way, I'm filming this clip right now on the lens I'm reviewing. So who is this lens for? It's an amazing portrait lens. It produces beautiful bokeh. It's a really fast street photographer lens. It's great for astrophotography. It has character. All that in one small little package and one light package, the 58mm Prime 1.4G lens. So who should get this lens? Well, if you already have all the other primes in your bag, the fast primes I'm talking about, the 85, 35, 24, all 1.4G lenses, even the 105E lens, then get this lens. This is a specialty kind of lens. But if you don't have those lenses, you don't have an 85, you don't have a 35, hold off on this lens. I'd get a nifty 50 for a few $100s versus spending $1,500 on this lens. It's all up to you guys. It's your money. It's how you spend it is your decision. But that's my opinion. If I already have all the lenses in my bag and I want to add something special, and if I like the focal length of the 58mm, then go for it. Like I said, I use this lens all the time for video. I'm using this lens right now. I use this lens for wedding photography, candidates, natural light candidates, walk around. It's a perfect lens. It's not too heavy. It's not heavy at all, guys. It just feels right in the hand. It's really well balanced, especially on the Z6 with the FTZ adapter, guys. All right, guys, it's time for me to get out of here. But hopefully you enjoyed this review of the Nikon 58mm 1.4G Nikkor AFS Nikon lens. We'll see you on the next video. Before I forget, please like and subscribe to Vlogography. hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload new videos. If you like reviews like this of lenses, cameras, photography in general, please subscribe to Vahography. Okay guys, thank you for watching. This is Vahography. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. We'll see you on the next video, guys.